Podcast.
What's up, guys? Why does he always do that to me? The hand claps come first. What's up, guys? This is Late Night with Dr. Tranell Stewart. Thank you, guys, for tuning in. We got a good show for you like we do every week, but this one is something a little special for you guys. We're going to delve into a very tough topic, and for a lot of us, some things that we've been struggling with. We see a lot of couples struggling with. We're talking about marriage tonight, guys, and we have experts on with us that have been in ministry doing this thing and doing it well, and they're going to be talking with us a little bit. We're going to ask them a couple of questions. I welcome you guys to like and share this broadcast. Make sure that you are telling your friends about it, telling your neighbors. Go out and get everybody that you think can be blessed by this broadcast, because we want to hear from you. It's interactive. You know, we want to get your input. We want to answer your questions. So please make sure you like and share, and ask all the questions that you can within this broadcast, and we'll try to get those answered for you. Tonight, I will be sharing a couple of different announcements before the show is over at some point, but because I want to give this interview all the allotted time that we have, I'm going to go ahead and bring our guests on right after our first music break. And you guys make sure you take this opportunity to go ahead and share it with your audience, your live, your family, everybody, guys. All right, we're going to share it to groups, but we'll be right back after this quick music break. Stick with me, guys.
You're listening to Joe's Live Worldwide Podcast. You're listening to Jerry Sly Worldwide Podcast.
All right. That was Miss Kenya C. All of You. What a beautiful song. I promise you, some of them songs sound like R&B songs, kind of catch your attention. Y'all know y'all had something else in mind. But anyway, I love that song. I love that flow. Definitely catches your attention and has a great message with it. Let's get back into it. I hope you guys took that chance or that time to make sure you shared the broadcast, got that all out here. Speaking of R&B flow, the topic of this evening, we're talking about marriage. When two become one, the real story, the real experience. And we hear this all the time. We got a lot of people that's wanting marriage. We got a lot of people that is preparing their whole life for marriage. But what happens when you actually get in there? How do we make it to the forever? And so this tonight we have the opportunity to talk to the founders of Real Love Ministries, Mr. Eddie Hall and Desiree Williams Hall. And I'm so excited. Actually, Desiree is one of the co-authors with me on a current anthology we were working on, Four Cream Colored Sisters. So I'm excited to have my girl come on and share a little bit about what she does outside of the writing and all of that. But you guys know my motto right here on Late Night with Dr. Chanel Stewart: can't nobody tell our story like we can. So without further ado, no bios read, I'm going to bring my guest of the evening right on with me. Guys, you guys with me?
Hey,
yes, hey, how you doing?
There they are.
Thanks for having us.
Amen. So I'm gonna jump right into it, and I want you guys to just introduce yourselves both individually, and we'll just do individually. We'll talk more and more about the ministry during the interview, but definitely introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, who you want to go first? Okay. Well, hey everybody, how y'all doing? I'm so glad to be here with Dr. Tranell. Yes.
Hey.
And as she foresaid, that we are working on the anthology project together, Cream Colored Sisters, and I'm just grateful for this collaboration. But I am a mother. I wear a lot of hats. I'm a mother, a wife, an evangelist. I usually don't want to tell people this, but I sing a little bit too. And I don't consider myself really a writer, but just thinking back, I used to write. I used to journal a lot. So I guess that was preparing me for what is yet to getting ready to birth out. So I wear a lot of hats. My everyday job, I'm always out helping the community, which I love so very much. So I'm just glad to be here to share.
Amen. What about you, Mr. Hall? I'm going to call you Dr. Hall. Is there something?
Oh, Dr. Hall.
Well,
how you doing, sir?
Doing great. Well, my name is Eddie Hall. Not too much. I like to stay in the background, but other than that, I just like to be with my family, enjoy life, and love on the Lord. I'm a minister as well, and just like to talk to men on a different version of what they used to be hearing. So tonight probably be a little different because I like to talk to the men, especially when talking about marriage as well.
Yeah.
We want to keep PG-13, I guess. Are we? Please.
Hey, look, we're grown folks. This is late night.
Oh, it's late night. Okay. Okay. All right.
So let's definitely go ahead and get into it. So tell us a little bit about you guys, your marriage, how you met. Tell us, give us the scoop.
Yeah, good. Give us a scoop, Mr. Dr. Hall.
Well, actually, we both were raised in the same church. I went away to school and came back home and seen her in church, and I liked what I seen. And
wait, you have to tell the age. You have to paint this picture.
You got to paint the picture.
Okay. You got to paint the picture. So paint the picture. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm 6 years older than her, so she always called me old man or or Pops, or what else you call me?
I don't call you Pop.
Yes, you do.
Okay, Dr. Tranell, this is how it went, okay? Now, like you said,
Your version.
we did grow up in the same church, so we always knew of each other. Now, he says he doesn't remember me because I was so much younger. So since we're 6 years apart, I believe when you were there, you started going when you were about 13, and so that means I was about 6 or 7 years old.
Yes.
So there was really no connection or anything there. And then he went away to school. He came back. When he came back, I was of age. Yes.
All right now.
Let's make sure we make that notice. She was of age.
I was of age. Yes. Yes. So I guess you say you like what you saw.
Yeah, I like I like the way she carried herself. I know everybody always look at it out of appearance, but I like how she carried herself within the church. Even with the other girls she was hanging around with, she was totally different the way she walked, the way she talked, and she just carried herself around the church as well.
Oh, okay. All right. So
and then I like your brother as well, but I like the way she carried herself.
Oh! Okay, so he stepped to me and he gave me his number, but I didn't call him. Nope, I didn't call him. So it was like I wanted to, if he really wanted to talk to me, he'll put the chase on, and he did.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah, I told him he was like a stalker, right?
He didn't want to give me the number, but I found the number out within the same day I gave her my number.
Yes, and I didn't give him my number. That's right. You're absolutely right.
No, but I had a secret weapon on the side. So they
wow.
He did a little investigation and stuff, so.
Mr. Investigator. I love that because we don't see that often now where, we have the potential husband on the search, on the prowl. And I heard Steve Harvey talk about this a lot. And he a hit or miss for me, I guess. But he talked a lot about having the man be the one that seeks out the woman,
the hunter. No, I was saying, on the prowl, they're the hunter.
Yeah, the hunter. That's the word he used. That's what I was looking for. I was trying to figure out that word. But he always says, let them be the hunter. And in this case, you thought you were helping out, but he was already hunting.
Right.
His the value that he's seen in you was not just the outer appearance. You're very beautiful. Everybody see this picture here. My girl is
cute.
So I know it it still was that. I know he was looking, but we're gonna talk a little bit about that inside, that real value that we have, because I think a lot of women, when they're opening themselves up for relationships and marriages, when they're even thinking about marriages, they don't even know themselves yet.
Exactly.
And so we struggle a lot in that area, and then we have women that get into marriages, but they still don't know themselves. So what do you say to those who are looking and those who are open to being married? They want that fairy tale, but they're not quite sure or who they are. What would you say to that?
Okay, what we usually say and what we usually suggest is just what you said. It's a fairy tale, and a lot of times women are looking for completion in somebody else, and that's not what it is. You first have to find God. Seek the face of God, number one. And ask God if there's any brokenness, if there's any things that need to come out of you first before you try to get into a relationship with anybody else. You have to love who you are first. You have to accept who you are. If I'm a heavy statute person, this is who I am. You take it or leave it. Or if I'm this or if I'm that, accept who you are. If there's anything that you need to wean out that is affecting your relationship with people in general, not just a boyfriend, girlfriend type of relationship, then you have to be willing to change and make those adjustments to be a better you. And when you become a better you, you'll be better for somebody else. So it's basically focused on self-care. and self-evaluation first. A lot of times when we go to these single panels, it's all about finding a man and what we want in a man. And no, what do you want in yourself? How do you see yourself in the next 5 years or even in the next year? What is your goal? How are you bettering yourself and preparing in that stage of preparation for someone else to come into your life? Because if you're broken and you're coming in with someone else and they're fully, not healed, or they may be broken, it's not going to go anywhere. Nobody can build each other because everybody is torn down. Yeah. So it's more of a struggle. And I think it's just what people say. It's a fairy tale. It's not real. So when you come into the reality of things, then you realize, and a lot of times when you realize it, you already made that step to be married, or you're already in a marriage. And you find out, you know what, either this is not adding up, or this is not what I expected it to be, because we have this whole fairy tale. But it takes a lot of loving yourself and being complete in yourself and not looking for another person to complete you. When you two complete people come together, all you're doing is complimenting each other.
Oh, yes. You said that. You said those are some good points that you made there, especially for single women. We have single women, divorced women on here. We also have married women. This message is for everybody, because I think in our preparation, making preparation for, us to have a spouse has to include, like Desiree said, it has to include self-care, because how can you truly love somebody else without loving yourself first? Exactly. I'm a witness. I've been married 14 years. I should have brought my husband on here. I should have dragged him on here too. I've been married 14 years. And I'm a witness to what happens when you don't know who you are and you're trying to be a wife. You're trying to be a mom. You're trying to be all these different hats that we have to wear as women. And you don't even understand who you are. So it is a process. And I don't think that the process ever ends, to be honest.
Exactly.
They're getting to know you. But there is a point where you know enough about you and who you are in God and who He has created you to be, that you're able to release somebody from that unfair expectation that we tend to put on them, the spouses, and then when we don't get that fairy tale, that vision that we see, then we don't know what to do with that. Most people, end up in divorce.
Exactly.
I honestly think, that marriage, now people really see that as a piece of paper. How do we change that outlook on there? Because they say, well, if I don't like it, I'll just get a divorce. Like, really? Why isn't it important enough for people? I'm going to give this to your husband. I want to hear from him on this particular point, because I know that a lot of husbands have this outlook of, if it just don't work, then it don't work. It's too heavy for me. I'm getting out of it. What do you say to that?
I just want to piggyback right from where she left off at, because I think one of the other problems is a lot of men, and we always talk about women and getting themselves together. But I believe that many men is not together. Many walking together. First of all, many men of us, we always put on camouflage. So we look the part. We have the nice car. We have the nice outfit on, but we have no substance inside. So when you're hooking up with a man, and in reality, the ratio of woman over man is more women to one man. So a woman will rather have a piece of man than to have no man at all. And men know that. Men know that, and they'll just come in half a man and make you look like they're a whole man. And once you get caught up together, you find out he's no part of a man.
Wow. Woo.
Wait. What?
Because we put on a camouflage. So you think that we got it all together because you look at the car, you look at the clothes that we wear, you look at where we take you out to dinner. And then you find out that once I got married, now the mask comes off. Now you find out who you really married, because you didn't go through the dating process. You didn't go through the seasons when there was ups and downs, when he had a great job, when he laid off, or when he lost his job. So you look at everything when he was successful. Now when he's going through problems, now it's a whole different story. I always tell couples this: the same man who could raise his hand up in church when everything's going well is the same man who lays hands on you when everything's going bad. And that's why we have the domestic violence. The domestic violence never shows itself at the beginning of a marriage. It shows up when you have a big argument.
Okay, so you know, you're absolutely right, and it just goes back that, you know, when you don't do that self-evaluation, hurt people. When you're insecure about yourself, and like you said, how men portray to be successful, or they may portray to be a certain thing, to be accepted, because nobody likes rejection. And same way with a lot of women lie as well, you know, to get into a relationship just to be loved, just to be accepted. And sometimes, you know, it goes farther than what we expect it to go, but nobody don't want to be rejected. So they continue putting on this camouflage and putting on this act until they realize, look, we done made the biggest mistake, and now they're in a marriage. But going back to your actual question, the second question that you asked about, you know, this thing is not just a piece of paper.
It's not a piece of paper. But one of the problems that we're facing right now is what we see in society, what we see on TV, what we see all these shows. You can get married today and wake up and say, well, I made a mistake, and get divorced within 6 hours. The problem is we always have that what if. And the problem with this generation compared to the old generation, we don't understand how to go through the process. So once we go through the process, or once we go through a little pressure, now we want to back up out of it. And marriage is always a process. It can be good one day, it can be bad one day. You can go through rough patches, you can go through good patches, but you got to go through the process. And I just like to base it off a car. When we first buy a car, our car depreciates once you take it off the parking lot. But given time, with all the maintenance and the requirements to keep it going, within 30 years, that car that depreciates now turns into an antique. And that comes through the process of keeping up what you have.
Investing.
You have to invest. You have to invest in your marriage. And when you see couples who've been married for 20 years and 30 years and 40 years and going into the 50 years, it was a process. It wasn't always easy. Every day wasn't Sunday, and even sometimes Sunday felt like it was Friday night. But we just got to understand that you had to go through the process. And I think that this generation don't want to go through a process. They want a quick fix or walk away and say, you know what, I can go find somebody else. Especially when you know you have other people out there who's looking at you. Because most single men don't already get hit on. It's when you get married, now the devil want to come. Because once you made a commitment and made that covenant, it's not about shacking. A lot of people talk about shacking. Shacking, you can do whatever you want to do in shacking, because there's no covenant. But the minute you have a covenant between God, which is holy matrimony, now the enemy want to come in and wear his ugly head. Now you got to go through the process to show the enemy that he can be defeated.
Yeah. Because, you know, the enemy don't like when you make that covenant, that commitment with God. So that's the difference between shacking and, look, it ain't nothing holding me here, you know. We could, like you said, we could do whatever we want. But when you make that decision to make this legitimate, not only within the earth, but legalized, but towards God.
But the thing what they don't understand, yes, you had to get the paper, you had to get the license, but it didn't come a covenant till you kiss your wife. And the papers got signed. So you had papers first just showing you what you get to take a part of.
So it was sealed.
It was sealed in the covenant of a kiss. Now you sign the papers for all who witnessed and whoever married you that night. That's when the paper came legit. But it was legit once you made a commitment to Christ for sickness and health, to love, to justice was part.
To the vows and the
now there's a covenant between God. And once you sealed it with a kiss, then you sign the papers, just legalizing that you were married. But you was already married once you made a covenant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I like how you guys can go back and forth and have this healthy conversation, because I think that's needed. Communication. In saying that, I want to say that I find that, or I see that communication has been one of the number one reasons that we have the failed marriages, and that is because if we don't know ourselves, we can't clearly communicate what it is that we need in a relationship with a spouse, you know. And communication could be, communicating with words our needs, or communicating with body language, because women, I know for myself, I'll shut down in a second and then get upset because he's not understanding why I'm upset.
Right.
So communication has what I think a lot of people don't understand is that you're having two separate people, two whole separate people that are coming together as one, and that has to be understood. That don't just happen overnight. There's things that they believe, things that they experience and grew up with, and then you have those experiences. So those experiences teach us things and also shape and form the way we see relationships. So I'm gonna bring my husband in. I'm gonna try to get him anyway.
Okay.
But I definitely wanna hear from you, Desiree, about this thing, this communication. Because when we're talking about two becoming one, two separate entities clashing into one, that sounds like it takes work.
Right.
What's with that?
And it does. It takes work and commitment. It takes sacrifice as well. And like you said, a lot of times we think we're communicating and we're confronting. Most of the time we speak through our body language. We may have one thing coming out of our mouth, but our body language is saying something totally different. And it's comprehended in the wrong way. I may not intend it for that to happen or intended for that to look that way or sound that way, but how I'm acting, it was totally different than, what you're comprehending. So it's very important that we communicate. We don't just confront, and we have to know in the timing in which to do it. Sometimes it's not the right time to confront or to communicate a certain issue. So we have to use wisdom in that, but never be afraid. Sometimes I would hear people all the time that says, "Oh, me and my spouse, we don't argue. We don't do this. We don't." But you know what? One person is holding back because they don't want it to be an altercation, and that's unhealthy. Both parties should be able to communicate their feelings, to communicate and say what they need to say, but it's in the manner that it's said, the body language that it said, and the actions that it's said in. So we have to be very careful, not only just to communicate, but to listen and to get back. So do you mean such and such and such and such? Mm-hmm. And when an individual and when your spouse tell you something, don't cut it off. Don't try to manipulate it. Don't try to change it. Or even if they may be telling you something about yourself, like for example, I would tell my husband, he was like, "I don't need no mama," and I was like, "I'm not trying to be your mother. I'm just trying to let you know." So I had to watch what I was saying to him, because if you say it in the wrong way and in the wrong actions with your body language, they're completely not listening.
Exactly.
And then vice versa. If he's saying it to me and I feel like I ain't trying to hear that, and I'm trying to justify my actions all the time and not actually listen to what he's saying that can help us. And then sometimes it's the simple things that we need to do. And you said it. A lot of times it's from our background, how we grew up. A lot of dominant women, they seen their mother or grandmother or aunts be very dominant and controlling, and that's how they are in their relationship. And they emasculate men. They tear them down instead of build them up. So they're completely turned off. They're not hearing. And a lot of times we wonder, why do these men go to women? I look better than her. Then we start comparing ourselves and doing all of this. But it's all about what she's saying, how she's communicating with him a lot of times. And I'm not trying to justify the action, but when you look at it, it's something was very, you know what? She heard me. She listened to me. Made me feel like I was something.
Yeah, you hear that. You hear
so
that.
We women, we have to be very careful, how we speak, and be cautious of listening as well. Sometimes it just takes us just to be quiet Be quiet. Let them speak. Let them get their word out. Let them get their feelings out, because we have so many different avenues to express how we feel a lot of times. We got women's group, women's conference, but men, they really don't express themselves to other men like we do.
Yeah.
They don't have that confidant or, their outlet like women do. So it's very difficult. And we're asking them to talk. Say something. And a lot of times it's like, no, because I know if I say it, what you finna say back to me. So I rather keep.
You talking good, sis. You talking real good, because this is something that we have to really address as women. That a lot of women, especially those who have been raised, as you stated, by strong women. I come from a family of strong women, and a lot of the things that I see is that the partners are quiet. They're more submissive. They don't talk as much. If you rarely see them get angry. And my husband, I'm gonna address this question to him as well about communication, because I see this the same way. Is a lot of the things that have come up in our marriage has been because of the communication issues. The way I communicate, I'm very strong up front, and I know I'm right. And once I set my mind on something, it's oftentimes hard to get away from that. But then I may come back later and okay, now I see what she was saying, and it's trying to understand where he's coming from when he's saying, certain things. He always slows me down, and he's like, if you stop and let me talk, or if you stop, and because I'll stop in the middle of the sentence, and I'm like, hey, I know what you're getting ready to say. I know where this is coming from, but actually I don't, and I notice that when I stop and pay attention, the feedback, that's the most important part of that communication, because it lets them know that you're listening, that you care about what it is they're saying. So I'm gonna pose this question to my husband also. What do you find about communication that you can kind of give advice to other men, especially like Ms. Desiree said, the men don't like to open up. What do you find can help in that area, or what advice would you give to other men struggling with the same thing?
Hey, how everybody doing?
Oh, okay. How are you?
All right. To me, I just believe that at the end of the day, a man has to feel like he's safe. Too many times we want to put up that front. We want to put up that appearance like we got it all together, like we can handle it, like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders and we're good with it. But there are times where you'll have a bad day. You'll have something that bothers you or something like that. What I would say as a man, you have to put us in a position where we feel safe, where if we let you in, that it's not gonna come back and bite us in the end. It's amazing. Like, what a lot of people don't realize is a man and a woman, we kind of share the same emotions. It's just that we have learned, maybe from, maybe we grew up, with our grandparents and stuff like that. We've learned the old school way, which is to just pick it up, put it on your back, keep it moving. You build, you're building character, you're building strength. All the while, you're letting it build up and build up and build up and build up. And then, I've experienced friends who have just never had that person to vent to, that person to kind of open up to. And when they feel like it's too much, pretty much.
Well, that kind of goes along the lines of what you were saying, Desiree. I want to hear from Mr. Hall on this particular topic. I want to get the men free in here. All these men listening, I want to get the men free. Listen, I want to free the women too, but it's not enough attention on the male. And listen, The male is the head of the household. The male is the one that is the covering in this marriage, and we have to understand that there is a weight on them that we cannot understand. And we have to really pay attention to what it is they need from us as women. So as the wife, we got to be willing to be open to the fact that we may not know everything. We may not be, know how to specifically, fulfill that need. But if we listen, oftentimes they'll give us the answer that they need or the solution to their personal problem. Mr. Hall, give us your thoughts on that.
Well, I just believe that most men is not long-winded. We talking short rivers. And most of the time you have to figure it out. And the second thing I like to say when I was thinking about one of the main problems is when we introduce our spouse, we always introduce our spouse, or anytime we talk about our spouse, we always talk about our spouse as our wife or our husband, which is good, which is great. But the other thing I like to put in there also is not only is she my wife or she's my husband, but he also is my friend. Because everybody have a friend who they confine in. They just rearrange who your friend is. Understanding that your wife can be your friend as well, but it comes to a point where you got to be very vulnerable, and you got to listen to what each one of us saying, and not just look down upon each other. Or every man have a friend they can go to and say, "Man, I messed up," and won't look at you different in any kind of way, and sometimes even try to cover for you as well. But I think that the problem is that we, as men, we don't see our wives as our friend as well, but our wife will see her husband as a friend. But understanding for men to see your wife as being a friend, because that's the number one person. That's the person you go to sleep with every day. That person knows you better than your family do. Especially after you've been married so many years. They know how you sleep, every pattern you do, every pattern that you do. But yet you don't want to confine them when you're going through something. And many times men have nervous breakdown or men have low self-esteem just like women do. Either the education that we have, our financial difficulties that we're having now, our weight sometimes, we're getting older sometimes, our health failing. So we have other insecurities just as women also. But as our wife being a friend, that we should be able to go to them and let them know how we feel. And I think most men don't open up to their wives with us. Most of the time they don't see their wives as a friend. And the other thing I've seen also, that problem with men, especially with men who've been married, not married, who have been raised in a single mother household. But they heard their mother all their life. Now they're getting married and they hear their wife nagging. The first thing he realized, or he understands, is what he heard from his mom. So many times a man would turn around and say, my mom already raised me, because that's all I heard was women in the household. Now I'm getting women. Now that I done got married, I still hear my mom coming through your voice.
Yeah. Are you a single? Were you raised in a single family home?
No, unfortunately, I was raised in a house with a father and a mother.
Yeah, I was.
Okay. Okay, I was asking because I know my husband was not. He was raised by his mother, but he had a lot of uncles around. So I know that has an impact. I was raised with my mother and father to a certain age, and then there was separation and stuff. I know all of that has an impact on how we view marriage. I know I always used to say, especially in our earlier years of being married, this is my best friend, and then life happens and you're like, what happened to that thought process? I could talk to him about anything. He can talk to me about anything. But when life happens, it's like you're growing up and you're finding yourself, like we talked about earlier, that self-love, and we're finding ourselves. But in that process, sometimes we could, I don't even know the word to use, leave them behind, so to speak, or get so focused on ourselves that we're not too focused on them. My husband said get put on the back burner.
Yeah, and it's true, because sometimes what happens in marriage is we become such individuals instead of a team. To where we have to realize it's not you by yourself. It's us. It's us together against everything else on the outside. And that's why it's so important that, and your husband said it well, give these men a safe place, a safe haven, to where if I tell you something so deep that you won't look at me the same. I mean, you will still look at me the same. You will still love me the same. And even if you don't say nothing, it was just that I just needed you to hear that. I needed to let that go, you know.
Yeah.
And even for me, here in my household, with my children, my husband, I want this to be a safe place for them. If they can't go nowhere else, if they can't confide in nowhere or no one else, they should always be able to come home, and this will be a safe place for them.
And I also believe that we have to understand that even though we're married, there's seasons in both of us, and we just got to learn how to be not only a life coach but also a cheerleader for whenever God moving the other person. And only I can think of like the man, David Man and Tamina Man. At one point in time, it was Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown was all out everywhere. Everybody wanted to go see Mr. Brown. When Mr. Brown's season was over, Tamina Man stepped up, and he became her number one fan, and became her cheerleader on the side, saying, "You know what, you can do this is your season." And then it flipped around. Then they came together as a man's world, and then they did that for a little while. Then it flipped it again, and Tamina Man became back out there. But we just understand there's a season for both of us. Sometimes we walk together, sometimes we won't walk together, but we can be that cheerleader. We can be that person on the back saying, "You know what, go, baby, go." Because at the bottom line, the problem is there's no competition within us. We don't have no competition in our home. You know, many times Desiree is out on the forefront and I'm in the background. But I like it. I like to see her move forward. And sometimes she say, "Okay, you back there too far." And then she'll bring me up front, say, "Hey, I am married. She will introduce me as her husband." So I don't feel that I'm misplaced or left behind, but I know it's her season, and I just back her up in her season. And when it becomes my season, she does the same as well.
Amen. Amen. I like that. I like that, the supportive aspect of it, because, again, you're not in competition. I know there's a lot of, especially men, because I've been in the music industry for quite a while now. And I see this, you know, you have strong women up in the forefront, and the men are, you know, financially providing. They may be, you know, taking care of the kids and different things like that, but they seem to get lost back there. You know, they feel shut out. You know, even when I'm in work mode, I'm going. You know, I'm always going, and I would tell my husband if he travels with me or something, I'm like, "Hold up, you got to hush. I got to concentrate. I got things to do," and I'm so focused. That's why I stay up late. Nobody to bother me. But
he be up.
He go to sleep, so it's good. But this is, you know, I learned that about me, that I can get so focused that I can forget about them. You know, and that's my number one ministry. What's that lady sang that song? My ministry. I don't know.
You're talking about on the T.D. Jakes album?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I don't listen to that whole album because I don't like T.D. Jakes' like voice all up in the sexy mood and stuff. I don't know about y'all, but if y'all ever heard that album, I forgot what, like something sheets or something like that, and I play, and I'm like, jeez, are we supposed to be moved? It's like I can't this with T.D. Jakes for I can't do it. I can't do it. But anyway, back to my point. Listen, you know, it's our first ministry. You know, our marriage, and I had that in the beginning. I'm saved, running for God, chasing after God. My husband was not saved, and so there was a lot of fight and struggle during that time. We didn't come into the marriage saved, neither one of us, you know, and so when we both were out and doing our thing, we was like, oh, we got this. I mean, we friends, we going out clubbing, we going out doing our thing, you know, everything seemed to be prospering. And then once, you know, that transition happened, and I was, you know, moving in God and starting to be more into the ministry, I'm like, hold up, who is this I'm married to? You know, I'm looking at him like, you can fulfill, you know, what it is that I need, you know, and instead of praying and really seeing him as somebody that had to come up as well, the support is what I'm talking about. And I really want to point out that is important. One of the things that God spoke to me, and those of you who know me have heard me tell this story. I had just come out of a 21-day fast, and I'm, praying hard and going in, 21 days. I'm hungry after that, so I'm driving to work, and I remember this. I remember the whole scene, I remember how I felt and everything, My husband had got on my nerves that morning. I'm just being honest. Look, he had got on my nerves that morning, and I'm driving to work, and halfway through my travel, I was like feeling this urge to pray for him. Now, you know how hard it is to pray for somebody that just got on your nerves, that you just spent that time with, and you're like, really? So God is like pressuring. It's like a weight of pressure that's like, pray for your husband. And I'm like, okay, God, and and on top of that, he gives me a directive to go on a 3-day fast. Now, I'm like, hold on a minute, I already struggled through that one because I didn't understand it at that time. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm doing the Daniel fast, still eating like extra cups of nuts because I was hungry. But I was trying to make it through. So when I finished, I thought I accomplished something. But anyway, there was obviously something that God had to get to me that I didn't get through those 21 days. I wasn't focused on the area that I need to focus on. Everything that I was asking God for, he says, you already have. It's inside that man that you're married to, that you keep fussing with, that you're trying to outgrow, And he, I remember I'm turning the corner. He says, you can't tell this man how to have a relationship with me. And I said, what? He ain't even saved, God. I'm like, I'm the one. I'm trying to talk to him. I'm trying to preach to him. That's what I was doing, preaching, not talking to him. I wasn't waiting on his feedback. I'm telling him what he's doing wrong, how he's supposed to be this man of God, how he's supposed to be the covering. And he didn't even know how to be that. And I couldn't teach him that. He needed God. And so what God was telling me is like, I want you to pray for him because that's your position. That's your correct position, to pray for him and have that seed. You water that seed. And the fasting was the watering and the releasing and letting go and allowing God to grow him up. I kid you not, my husband was saved not too long after that.
My God.
My husband became the covering that I needed him to be. And so God, oh my God, I just trust him with everything. And see, even when we experience things now, in our relationship, if y'all could see me right now, I'm like moving my hands and all this kind of stuff. My husband just nodding his head.
Look, it's real. Look, this is something that you experience.
Yes.
God.
Yes. So
hear about him.
I'm grateful for God and what he does. And even in our seasons, like Mr. Hall said, he's going forward, and I may be in a season where I need more prayer. I need, that covering. I need, what have you, the support. If it's not there, it is so hard to continue to walk together and to continue to see this as the number one ministry. We cannot do anything without this being nourished, this being, something that you're feeding consistently. Because when it's like the tip of the iceberg and everything below it, you know what I'm saying, is affected by what happens in the marriage. Our kids, our influence, our careers, everything is affected. When we go through things, it affects everything that we're connected to. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I can really relate to you with that because although we said that we grew up in a church, trust me, our marriage was far from perfect. And we share with people all the time, we're real people with real issues, but who serves a real God. And we realized that through experience because earlier in our marriage, the first year was okay. The second year, it got a little shaky. And then after that, I don't know what happened. It just like plummeted. It fell apart. And although we were in the church, we wasn't in God,
Yeah.
So it got to the point I said, God, I heard about you. My mom and my dad, this is what we grew up on. This was our life. My dad started as a deacon, then he went to assistant pastor. So it's like we ate, slept, church. So we knew the ins and the outs. But having a personal relationship with him, that was something different. That was something that I was lacking. And when we started to really go through, it was like, God, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I expected. And it was like I began to get angry because it was like this man, I wasn't even bothering him. He chose me. He pulled me from my parents' house, and then to do this, to start acting crazy, bills got behind, the house almost went in foreclosure, and I didn't find out until the last, this is your final notice type stuff started happening. I said, no, God, I didn't sign up for this. I don't even treat him like this, and I'm just going on and on and on. And I said, God, if you're really real, like I heard these mothers speak about, show me. Show me your glory. I want that relationship. And then it was like I just felt the urge to start praying. And I believe that God used my marriage to even draw me closer to him, to build that relationship with him. And as I began to pray, and I was praying for him, like, God, you do something with him. You get him, it was like, God, tear him up. Don't kill him, Lord, but just tear him up, get his attention, shake him, make him, and all of this kind of stuff. And I had to realize that I couldn't change him, that God had to do the changing. Now, through my actions, he can be inspired to change, but I couldn't do it. So I knew that I needed God. I needed something. And I said, well, you know what? I can't take this no more, God. I want to get a divorce. I said, I want to divorce him. And then I said, well, I know divorce really is not right. And I had to prepare myself for all the church hoopla. Did you do this? Did you do this? So we went to marriage counseling. And then in marriage counseling, we got a little counseling or whatnot. And then I had to pray. And I asked God. And I said, God, I need you to move on my behalf. And, God had to really shut me down and show me and all the things that I was saying. And he said, in order for this to change, I'm going to change you. I'm going to change how you respond to him, how you talk to him, everything. And I was like, wow. And that's when I began to really just become closer with God and pray a different prayer. God created him a clean heart, renew a right spirit within him. Lord, you made him the head and not the tail. Let him love me as Christ loved the church. I started speaking the word over him, and I began to see, a change. And I began to not say anything, even when I wanted to say things, and I knew he was doing the wrong thing. And, God toned me all the way down. And just to see, now he's paying his bills. He's asking me, look, get that mortgage, pay the mortgage. When I used to chase you down, like, hey, where the mortgage money at, man? What you doing? That type of thing. It just amazes me. And as we go back to the beginning, we were talking about the process, and Eddie was saying that people don't want to go through that process. But you know what? Now I thank God for the process, because just like you said, I'm moving my hands because I know. I just didn't hear about God. I know I have experienced him and the things that he has done in my marriage. When people said that we wasn't going to make it, when I said I didn't even want to make it, but God, his glory and just shone upon our marriage. But it was some things that I had to do. I had to shut down. I had to close my mouth. I had to do different things if I wanted to see the change. So the change had to begin with me in order to how to treat him. And when I began to respond to him differently, he said to me, Desiree, show me how to love you, because I don't know. I want my family. He started seeing different things like that. And I was like, my God, this man don't know. He literally don't know. And it was like, God, give me wisdom. I started praying and asking God for wisdom. And I said, God, your word said if we ask for it, you will give it to us liberally.
Yeah.
And he just had to give me wisdom on how to deal with him in a different angle. And as I began to humble myself down more, I began to see God just move in my marriage. And look, we're 21 years strong now, and I can't believe.
Congratulations! Yes.
Woo, go God!
Yes, go God! Listen. That we actually gonna have to wrap up right here. But what I want to do is, because I don't think this discussion is finished, I want to bring you back, especially you, Desiree. I think we need to talk to the women. I think the last portion of this conversation really, really is something that's needed to be heard. And you guys can give me likes, shares, inbox me, let me know you want to hear part 2 with Miss Desiree. Y'all let me know, because I definitely want to continue this conversation. It's not over, y'all. Part 2 is coming. I'm going to figure this out. All right, we're going to bring Miss Desiree back on. Congratulations on the long and happy marriage, regardless of the seasons. You know, guys,
yes.
What you're doing, Real Love Ministries, is an amazing thing because we need it. We need it, not just for the young people, the single people, but for the married folks. And we need to be reminded of why we came together. We need to be reminded that we have others that are fighting this same fight. And a fight doesn't have to be a bad one. It just means you have to add some muscle to make it work. And I really believe in everything that you guys are doing. Quickly, tell us a little bit about the ministry. You have something going on like once a month. Tell us a little bit about that, where they can go and find you, find out about where you hold these events, and also where they can link up with you and your husband to kind of, get involved in the ministry and support you guys.
Yes. Okay. So we meet every fourth Friday at Bread of Life Community Church. Pastor Keith Moore, Lady Tranell Moore. We are the marriage directors there, Marriage Made Whole. We just had to find Real Love Ministry a home, and God settled us there. So we just truly thank God for them embracing us. So if you want to be a part of whatever we do, let me tell you, meet us there every fourth Friday night. And those of you who follow us on Facebook or any social media outlet, you probably seen pictures and video footage of our signature event that we do for married couples, which is Night of Passion. It's a prom night that is tailored exclusively made for married couples. And we bring married couples from all over South Florida and abroad together to celebrate love and marriage, the biblical principles of marriage in one place. We like to create that space for couples just to enjoy each other.
Oh, that's amazing. So it's not just once a year on Valentine's Day. There's some amazing events on Valentine's Day, but this is something you guys want to get involved in. I think it's very important that we have this consistent pouring into our marriages.
Yes.
Sometimes we get too busy, and life tends to override the necessity to pour in. And we need to really make this a goal of ours, and connect with Mr. and Mrs. Hall, so that we can come out and be a part of that. I know me and hubby will be making plans, because I definitely want to come out and support y'all. I know I like traveling, but anyway, I'll let y'all. I'm going to go get the tea down there and then bring y'all back some news, all right? But definitely love to be a part of it. Love to be a part of it. Thank you so much for being our special guest for the evening. Definitely want to bring you back very, very soon and talk with you a little bit more. We want to definitely delve into the women and strengthening our women in this process as well.
Awesome. And please follow us on Facebook at Real Love Ministries, or our website at www.realloveministriesmiami.org.
Amen. Y'all make sure, I said I had a couple announcements. I'm going to make one important announcement to make sure that you follow the Cream Colored Sisters, that anthology, that conference. It's going to be on December 7th in Miami, Florida. Ladies, get your tickets, but definitely men, come out and support. suffer. I don't think it's, we shield the men off. I'm not sure, but I don't think we do. But definitely look up the page, share the page. Look at, all the promo and stuff that's coming out. It tells you a lot about the book. I mean, we have some awesome women of God. Some that you would hear right on this show with me that will be coming on to share a little bit about their story. But you got to get the book to get the whole story, guys. Come on now. All right. So we're going to support. We're going to go out, get our tickets, and we're going to see y'all in the place in Miami, Florida on December 7th. Y'all make sure y'all link up and connect with Joy Riley, which is the compiler of that anthology. And so we're so excited to see what God is going to do through that project. But this is your girl, Dr. T, and you were tuned into Late Night with Dr. Tranell Stewart, and I'm so glad that you showed me love and supported me tonight as you do every week. I love you. Make sure if you haven't, you connect with me on all social media sites under the handle Dr. Tranell Stewart, and I'll be sure to connect back with you. Guys, I love you. Please join me next week. We got exciting topics and exciting guests coming up. I'm going to move some stuff around because I'm bringing Ms. Desiree back. All right? But
thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. We'll see you again next week. You guys have a blessed week.
Okay.
Rules Live Worldwide Podcast.
Everybody suffering over a broken relationship. Everybody in bondage, waiting on closure that may never come. I want to talk to every divorcee, every person whose friends or family have turned their back on them, every pastor who has suffered loss in your ministry. Don't you lose another night's sleep. Don't you shed another tear. Soon by the grace of God, say this with us.
Now life's not through. I'm learning to get over you. Finding the strength to move on. I take it day by day. His grace, it takes the pain away. Finally the strength to
and I love you this way.
You're listening to Jules Worldwide Podcast.